had someone ask me about ancestor altars. Although I'm hesitant to make this video, I am going to give you like basic information. The reason that I'm hesitant to make the video is that before you set up an altar, you need to know who you're calling to the altar. And if you don't know who you're calling to the altar, because an ancestor altar is set up to venerate your ancestors, there's some ancestor altars, and then there's different types of ancestor altars. So I'm just really hesitant to just make a video talking about it because there's so many different variables. But I will give you like general information on what you'll need to set up an ancestor altar in your home. Just basic beginner. We'll tell you this: before you set up that altar, you need to know who you're calling to the altar. You need to know who you're calling to your altar. For a basic altar, all you need is a table, and the table is designated for your ancestors. Don't use it and then tomorrow you're playing cards on the table. don't use it. Whatever you set up for your ancestors, it's theirs. There's no takebacks. Don't set it up, then eat dinner off the damn table. That's all I want to tell you. Whatever you give to your ancestors is theirs. This includes money. Anything that you set on the altar, it belongs to them. So you get your space or your table that you're going to set up for the ancestors. You need a white tablecloth to put over it. And then on it, you'll need, it depends. If you're hoodoo, you'll need a Bible. But you will always, regardless hoodoo or not, you do need a candle for your ancestors. That candle more than likely should be just plain white. White is universal for any or everything. If you say you're doing candles or trying to manifest something, you don't have to have it. It doesn't have to be the exact color of what you're manifesting it for. It's good to have that representation, but you don't have to have it. It can be a white plain candle. So going past that. So you get your candle. If you're hoodoo or you're practicing hoodoo, Bible, candle, get the tablecloth. You might want to add pictures of your ancestors. Now, when you set that table up, the ancestors that you knew in this lifetime need to go to the right side of the table. The ancestors that you don't know, you've never seen or spoken to, need to go to the left side of that ancestor altar. Now that we got that out of the way, if you are born hoodoo, it is best to play music the ancestors normally like, gospel and like old Negro folk music. You can play that because this is what's going to call them in. Say a prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. For the life of me, I am drawing a blank on what book of the Bible that is. I think it's in Matthew. And I think it's 23 or 28. Don't quote me on that. At any ancestor altar, you need to seal your energy so that bad spirits do not come through. What I mean by this is, me personally, at my altar, I burn sulfur because bad spirits do not like sulfur at all. I burn sulfur. I don't burn sage. I'm born hoodoo. My ancestors were enslaved Africans and indigenous people. So they are not familiar with other stuff. Maybe the indigenous, but my dominant ancestors that walk with me were African American. So they know sulfur. I don't burn any, I just burn sulfur. Now, the reason that you're burning this, you don't want bad spirits to come through. You don't want bad spirits to come through. You don't want them to mount you. You don't want them in your space. Now, when you light the candle, of course I said pray. You also pray and you ask God to protect you while you work with your ancestors. Then you call your ancestors in. So you're playing the music and you just talk to them. If there's certain ancestors that you want to come through, then you call them by name. If you don't know who your ancestors are, just ask your ancestors that mean you well to come through and walk with you. Ask them to come through and clear your path. And then, just talk to them. Also, I forgot this important piece of information. You will need, for hoodoo people, 1 glass of water. Other practices, it might be 7 or 9 or 3. Not for hoodoo. 1 glass of water. So the reason for the water is your ancestors come through the water. And you can know if they're there or not if you look at the water and there's bubbles in the water. they're there. So yeah, you need the water, and then the fire. When you light the fire, the candle, that is what's calling them in. So whenever you're done talking to your ancestors or you're at your altar, because you need to spend time at the altar, don't just light the candle and walk away. If you do that, it's just the candle burning on the table. You literally have to call them in. Call them in, sing to them, talk to them like they were still. How did you talk to your grandmother when she was here on earth? How did you talk to your mom or your dad or your children, sister, brother, whoever you're calling through, calling to you? How did you talk to them before they left the earth? Just talk to them like they're right there with you. They know who you are because they're around you. Calling them in, yeah, certain ancestors walk with you, but they know who you are because they're always around you. You just have to call them in. Does that make sense? So you don't have to try to talk prim and proper. If you don't know if the way that you speak or how you're talking to them is disrespectful, just let them know I don't mean any disrespect by the things that I'm saying. Or if you introduce something different to your ancestor altar, your ancestors they don't know anything about, because keep in mind, our ancestors that walk with us are those ancestors further down your lineage, like your great grandmothers, great aunts, uncles, those people that were enslaved. They don't understand some of the things that we do now because they're not part of this generation, and you have to keep that in mind. So when you give them things or offer them things, it should be things that they are familiar with. Now, then you have your ancestors that are closer to the earth that just transcended, like your grandmothers or the people that you knew. They may recognize certain things, and you want to present things to them or pay them with things that they like. You don't always have to talk at the altar. You can sit there and just really sit. You do, call them in, pray, whatever. But you can just sit at the altar and be in their energy so that they can pass messages to you. So if I ask for something, or if I need clarification, I'll let my ancestors know that I need clarification. And then ask them to give me clear, concise messages. Because if I get roundabout messages, I'm not going to understand it, and I'm just honest with them about that. So I need it to be clear and concise. Come to me in my dreams or just let me know. And then I'll just sit there and just wait for the messages to come through. I'll just wait for the messages or downloads to come through. And then, you'll know when it's time to leave. If you get there and you're just anxious to leave, baby, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. Time with your ancestors, just like you don't want people coming around you, and the only time they come around you is when they're asking for something. They're not saying thank you. They're not, when you are helping them, they're not thanking you. They're not offering you anything. They're just taking. Your ancestors gets tired. They get tired of that. Treat them like a human being. They are in spirit, but you know that you wouldn't like it, so why would you treat them like that? They don't like it, and they'll stop helping your ass. And all your ancestors don't have to work with you. Some of your ancestors can choose not to work with your ass. Or if you're like manifesting or burning candles only for negativity. Or if you just have like bad energy. They know, and they're going to kick your ass to the curb. I'm telling you what I know. As far as the candle, like I said, it's calling them in, and the water is for them to come through. When you're done at your altar, blow the candle out. Me, I do the 7-day candles, and I never blow my candles out, and I'm going to tell you why. It is because I feel most comfortable with my ancestors always being there. Like, it just makes me feel safe, protected, and so I don't blow it out. Y'all can be in here. I just asked them not to come in my room, because 10 times out of 10, when I'm in my bedroom, I'm probably butthole naked. So I asked them not to come in my room. When the door is closed, just, give me that privacy, but they can roam out through the house. And let me tell you something, spirits don't sit in one spot. They roam. So just, set the little boundary a little bit, like, hey, when I'm in my room, please don't come, or whatever. If the door's open, you can come in, but if I close the door, give me that privacy, that time to myself. So, I don't make my ancestors leave or ask them to leave at all. Not unless I'm gone. If I'm going to be gone from the house for a while, I will blow the candle out. But as long as I'm home, the candle for my ancestors is always lit, because I just feel comfortable with them being here with me. I'm in Atlanta. I don't have any family or friends, so I'm always alone. So it's just like a comfort thing. I don't tell them to leave. They can be here. They've helped me manifest so many things. Cars, money, multiple businesses, health, all types of stuff. So like they can be here. Shit, they put in on it. Call on your ancestors that mean you well. Don't ever forget to say that, because if you just call your ancestors, all of them can come through. And just like anyone in any family, everyone in your family wasn't a good person, and you know it. I'll talk later about conjuring, because that's when you have a spirit mount you, and you know what you need to do with that. But yeah, that's really all you need for your ancestor altar starting off as a baby. For the basic altar, that's all you need. Make sure, if you know, you may not be like me and want them there all the time, so blow the candle out and relight it every time you go back to the altar. That's it. If you blow the candle out, all the prayers and stuff that you said the first time, every time, like I was saying, I had to stop recording for a second. Like I was saying, all of the prayers that you said the first time, when you blow that candle out, you have to say, whenever you relight it, you have to say the prayers and seal your energy every time you relight that candle. Keep that in mind. If you're manifesting things, you can burn that manifestation candle on your altar, because your ancestors are who you're working with. Anyway, so, what else? I feel like I'm leaving something out, but that's just basic information. But my suggestion is, if you're a baby in the spiritual realm, you don't know what you should be practicing, you don't know who your ancestors are, to not just jump ahead and getting an altar because you see other people with it, because people don't know what they're doing. I promise. People were just setting candles up there, lighting them, and walking off. They not spoke to the ancestors. They not called them in. They're not the candle up there, lighting it and walking off, and that's not what you do. Also, you can't treat your ancestors like I said, I only call on them or burn a candle for them when you want something. You have to constantly communicate with them. It's constant. It's not one candle and then I don't talk to you again for 5 or 6 months. That's not what they're doing, and they're not going to fool with you with that. You have to be constant. So if that's a decision, you have to be sure of the decision that you're making with any spiritual practice, and you have to constantly work it and deal with it. I'm probably forgetting something, but that's all I got for now. I'll make a video later about conjuring, like individual videos about conjuring, a little bit about the manifestation. Someone wanted to know about Ephi. I'm going to the Orishas, so I'll make a video about that.